When you talk about business and spirituality, that feels like it's a completely two different worlds that never belong together, right? If you had to explain that in a simple way, what happens when we allow this spirituality to enter the business? What happened?
To tell you the truth, I don't believe it was ever separated. We have just created this separation. It's an artificial separation. The most successful businessmen I know, even though they might not consider themselves spiritual, they might not say they're spiritual, the way they operate in the world is deeply connected to something that is beyond their experience. For me, that's what spirituality is. You're connected to your core and you get directed information for how you're supposed to move. The way you do that, trust me, doesn't matter. Do you do it by meditating? Do you do it by praying? Do you do it by being religious? Do you do it by doing sports? Any tool can become a tool for awakening. So I'm not sure why we're separating them, to tell you the truth.
So please, grab a cup of coffee or tea, get comfortable, and enjoy this episode. Welcome to the Brilliantly Branded podcast.
So hello and welcome one more time to the Brilliantly Branded podcast. And before we begin, I want to remind you what the Brilliantly Branded podcast is really about. So this space was created to explore stories and the voices that help us remember who we truly are. And of course, beyond the title, beyond the roles and the pressure to keep everything achieving that we all normally end up doing that. So each of my guests is actually choosing very careful. And I know that they have a powerful thing to come and share and different perspective. And that's the reason why they are here. Today I have invited someone very special that I found because the life put it on my path. And she is Aelia Kos. She have a very interesting journey coming from the global stages to creating experiences and in a way that touch people beyond the surface. I mean, she's going deeper. She will let us know details about that. And she's doing a very meaningful work and helping successful people reconnect with their inner world. I don't know if I have been doing a good introduction or not, but who better than you to complement what I have said or help us to understand who you are, where you're coming from, and give a little bit more of context about you. Welcome to the Brilliantly Branded podcast.
Thank you so much, Maria. You've done a great job. It's not always easy actually to define ourselves, especially when the journey is quite diverse, like mine has been. So where do we start? It's always the question. So I was born and raised in Greece. I consider like I'm originally Greek, but I consider myself a global citizen. I have already lived in 6, 7 countries so far. Depends how you count. And I really have started seeing that there's incredible characteristics that go across all cultures and across all society levels, funnily enough, even though we want to believe it's different. So I started from architecture and ended up working with business consulting and with experiences because the life path changed for me. And what I saw working really well for me, I wanted to pass it on to others. Long story short, I had the point in my life that my life looked like perfect from the outside. It looked like a dream, but from the inside it was completely empty. So a voice inside of me just informed me that this cannot be it. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel right. There should be something else. So I started seeking and I ended up bringing myself into this desired level not so long later on. So then I decided that I want to bring more people there. So that's a little bit in a nutshell how it all started.
Yeah, and I love it because that is touching the topic of the awakening in certain way, how we start to realize what is happening and how we can shift, how we can change that. But my question is, why do you think that so many of us, sometimes including myself, are just trying to ticket all the boxes of success and not going deeper into our soul? I don't know if using those words will make our audience to really understand what we are talking about, but I think along the way they will end up understanding what we are talking and bringing these topics to here.
Actually, I believe there is a way more people that we want to believe right now asking these questions, especially after COVID has been a massive wave
Mm.
of people realizing that, well, I have created all of that in the external, but what's happening? Something is obviously missing. Like I cannot even avoid looking at that anymore. And that does come more when you start achieving some levels of success and wealth. Interestingly enough, when your basic needs are covered, you start asking different questions. Different things become important. So I see that, especially in the ultra wealthy, that the question is completely different than what we think is their question. And usually it's about having moments that are precious in their life with their loved ones. It goes back to that, which is really,
Yeah.
really interesting. And it's not how it looks like from the outside.
Yeah, yeah, you are completely right. And this is as well what we are living right now. A lot of
Mm.
people trying to find, let's say, their purpose. And their purpose, some people put in a purpose. The money is the purpose. And when they find the money, then what is the purpose, right? And we were talking about last time about something that caught my attention as well. And you were saying, I am going to multiple events and speak with people that are already wearing kind of a mask in the sense that they are looking in certain way that you will say, well, if I start talking about what I am going to talk about, they are not never going to feel identify that. And you have been discovering something that you call it spirituality in the closet. And I love that. So can you elaborate a little bit more about that and let us know what is this about?
Sure, that was a phenomenon actually. I was observing for a long time, especially in business conferences. And I was very involved back in the days. I don't go almost at all anymore, but for different reasons. And it was always like you will meet people as you do in conferences, and very soon into the conversation with somebody that you have never met before, practically. So you haven't built any trust yet. They will start with the same phrase. It was literally also as if I knew what's going to happen when I was hearing the phrase. I have never said that to anybody, da da da. And then they start telling the entire story of their awakening that you wouldn't guess from the outside. Like you could really not guess it from their profile, from their position, from the way they were holding themselves. It was not obvious. And soon I started realizing that there was a huge need for them to talk to somebody who they believe can understand about something that is so profound and so personal, and nobody in their circle understands.
That is challenging. I mean, uh, find yourself in this moment in which you cannot explain what is happening and how to connect with the other person because you still don't know if that person is going to judge you for what you are expressing. And there is always this phrase, I don't know if you are going to understand what I am saying, and you are the only one person that knows that. That is something that have been happening to me as well. But I think it's a good way to build this relationship of trust where people are just putting all their stuff out on you and generating that connection. And another topic that we approached, it was in some point I told you, well, we are ready to learn in life. And you said that you was not agree with the term learn. You prefer to say it remembering. So I was very curious about that because for me it's very interesting how your belief is explaining many things that probably not everybody understand. So if you can help us to understand why remembering is instead of learning is the word that you use.
It does go through the stories that we start describing before. So we are in a stage right now in humanity as the species that we are growing into adulthood. So if we were one person, we will be changing from teenagehood into adulthood, which is a very interesting time if you remember yourself. You're trying to find who you are, practically. You're trying to find your identity. And that's what happening collectively. As a species, we're undergoing this transformation right now. And many of the ways we've been brought up is exactly as a child that, and we do actually do the same, I believe is a mistake to our children right now, to our actual children, believing that they come in knowing nothing. No, it's like there is nothing registering their soul. They just come in as a blank slate. There's many theories that say that this is actually exactly not like that. They just don't know the skills to live on this planet Earth, but they have all the information they need inside their soul. We just program in a way in our society that makes them very functional and efficient in the structure we have created for them, but it makes them forget who they truly are. And that's how we end with very efficient high achievers who are searching for their purpose and their soul. Funnily enough, and that's a very big topic about purpose, you can never be outside of your purpose. There's just a huge, your purpose is not something that you find outside you and just go and pursue it. It's something you cannot not do. It's something you have been doing in every little interaction, every little action, every little, it's who you are inherently. But many of the times we believe that this is not good enough, this is not big enough, this is not whatever enough, just because it's so natural to us. It is so natural. We cannot even observe it, so close to us. We cannot even see it. Everybody else sees it. So if you ask somebody else, usually they know way better to describe that because they can see you more objectively, but you cannot see it for yourself. So this entire question about purpose is a very interesting one because it's not so much about going outside and searching, but it's really actually remembering and seeing yourself more clearly, looking inside and say, okay, what is here? What am I bringing to the table that is so uniquely mine? There's nobody else on this planet who can do it the way I do. And everybody has that. Like there is no single person who is exactly the same like somebody else. It's impossible. It's like by definition, it's impossible. So when we move into a society that starts with this basic belief, and that's what we are introducing into business, practically there's no competition because by definition, you cannot be competing for exactly the same thing. So it changed a lot how we're seeing the world and what we believe the story we tell about the world to ourselves, which will make us behave very differently. So if everybody else is such a unique human being that they are supposed to find their perfect spot in a group and we're supposed to do the same, it's a whole different story than they're gonna eat my bread and take my wife and do whatever, right? And we move differently. So that's why it's a remembering. It's literally, it's not something external.
Yeah. The thing, and of course, I have a lot of questions that are coming right now, and is the fact how you normally see people around that are trying to find their purpose, but completely lost in knowing that they have already that in themselves. So, how will you say that it's easy to identify that the purpose is already in yourself and finding that what you are doing is aligning with your purpose if you already don't know what your purpose is?
There's two nuances on that I think that are important to observe. One of those is life will show you if you are going on the right path or not. Like literally it will. If you're having
How that happened?
a lot of difficulties, even it can be death, crisis, if you are facing a lot of obstacles, you're obviously just not going in the right direction. Life is trying to give you signs. You are going on the wrong direction. Stop, reconsider, change, pivot.
Yeah.
Right? So
Yeah.
many times you will see that happening when people, just before their biggest awakening, they had a big crisis, illness, death, car crash, something really substantial.
Yeah.
It was their hard stop, literally, from life, right? On the other hand, there is moments in life that by definition are moments of stopping and realizing what's happened. So what we call the middle life crisis, for example, or when you're 28-year-olds, there are big cycles of the humans that are the same for every human. Everybody will experience them differently, but they happen to all of us in different ways. That we are supposed to, it's just like, okay, I have done an entire cycle, have got some experience, and I can just look back and say, okay, what of that worked well? Where was I myself, where I was supporting others, and where I got off track. And correct, leave behind the ones that don't need to stay, and readjust and continue working on that. The thing is, like, our culture is not used to do that. We're just rushing through. There's never a moment of reflection. I get that all the time when I invite people to our experiences, which is deeply reflective experiences. And interestingly enough, they make you jump start in your business, like you'd have a 3x like in energy and usually a 10x in business right after without needing to change anything. But we are not used to that. We believe that if we stop, things will just fall apart.
I love
Doesn't
that.
work like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Exactly. And this is incredible how we end up just doing the things because we need to do, not because we want to do the things, right?
Yeah.
And this is just telling me, well, pay attention to all those signals, even if it is the small signals, because sometimes as well, we trend to put it in silence, yeah, something happened to me, but I'm not going to, things happen in life.
Mm.
The business are not going with the flow. It's okay, it's part of life. So how to understand when you need to shift is my question.
That's a very good question, to tell you the truth, because there are two different stages. An obstacle, it's not always a sign to change path. But if there's several of them coming at the same time, usually it's a sign to change path. Usually you're going to have way more than one if that's the wrong direction. But there is
Right.
another state that looks similar, but is somewhat different. And this is for you to continue moving in the direction where you're going, which is the test. Every time before opening a big next step, you will be tested before you do. It's almost
Mhm.
like you're testing a bridge before start allowing cars to pass by, right? Like you will test it. You're not going to
Yeah.
say, sure, just go. So you will be tested when you're opening a new step. But this usually it's one thing in one specific area and it doesn't feel inherently wrong. It just feels like, okay, I need to grow my capacity on this aspect because what I'm calling into my life is so much bigger. So I need to be prepared. I need to train. I literally need to be trained by life before I'm able to
Yeah.
open this level of business or relationship or expansion or anything that you are calling in. So they're a little bit different. They can feel the same, but usually when you have the signs that something is wrong, if you really stop for a second and ask your soul, you know you're going the wrong direction. You really do. You just
Yeah.
choose not to hear it.
Yeah, and I love that because it's basically listening to something that is happening in ourselves that we actually in this world full of information,
Mhm.
news, communication, social media, all the things that we are receiving every day, I think that are vanishing a little bit. What are those messages that are really important for you to say, hang on a minute, this is something to stop, pay attention, and get it in a different level. I know that probably what we are talking about here is a little bit like not the normal language or behavior of people, in the sense that I have realizing not many people are identified with going a little bit deeper to see themselves, because probably this is the most difficult thing in life, right? Stop and seeing inside. It's very difficult, very complicated. So it's better to go in like with the life. But we were talking, you and I, we were talking about the energies that we are managing, the feminine energy, the masculine energy. And I have been as well into that, discovering how that works. But I will love you to let us know your concept about that.
Absolutely. This is one of the basic pillars of our work. And it's not because one of the two, I prefer one of the two energies. I have equally both of them. I can be very masculine when I need to, can be very feminine when I need to. It's more what I'm observing in the world. Like I always try to bring to the world what is missing so we can have a better balance, right? And especially in business, business has become too masculine. And I don't mean as of men running business, even though that was also the case. I mean masculine energy. Masculine and feminine energy have different qualities. There's no wrong or right, right? It's just different energies, and we need both of them to be in a good balance. So
Yeah.
planning, order, structure, all of these are amazing masculine qualities. But if you have
Mm.
all of those without the creativity, the flow, the alignment, the intuition, which are the feminine qualities, it just becomes dry. And that's what, like, nobody's saying that, but we all feel that. You go into a conference, everybody's looking their watch for the time to go out for drinks and for coffee instead of wanting to be doing what it's supposed to be their work and their purpose. This is a clear sign, and it's happening everywhere. So we have taken out all the juice, all the meaning from our businesses. They have just become efficient. They just work, but we don't want to be there anymore. And that's not the
Yeah.
point in the end. It's not the point to just have a machine working. and you dying from the inside by being there and dedicating 3/3 of your life, sorry, 2/3 of your life being there. Like, there is no reason to believe that it needs to be like that in the future. We have
Yeah.
designed it. It's a man-made system. We can change it.
Yeah. And the thing is how by living that and don't paying attention, we end up don't enjoying the moment in where we are. So as you say, I mean, if you are looking at your watch and trying to perform the next thing, or looking at what have been happening before and ruminating about how you are going to solve that, you lose the precious moments that are the present in which you are not there. And sometimes you are speaking with people and the people are like in another planet. I mean, that is quite impressive. And talking a little bit about this topic about the soul and business. And when you talk about business and spirituality, that feels like it's a completely two different worlds that never belong together, right? So part of your mission is to show to the world that this connection between them exists. So if you had to explain that in a simple way, what happens when we allow this spirituality to enter the business? What
Mhm.
happened?
To tell you the truth, I don't believe it was ever separated. We have
No.
just created the separation. It's an artificial separation. The most successful businessmen I know, even though they might not consider themselves spiritual, they might not say they're spiritual, the way they operate in the world is deeply connected to something that is beyond their experience. For me, that's what spirituality is. You're connected to your core and you get directed information for how you're supposed to move. The way you do that, trust me, doesn't matter. Do you do it by meditating? Do you do it by praying? Do you do it by being religious? Do you do it by doing sports? I lately I had a transcendental moment by taking a business decision. It was purely business decision, and I was having a 3D transformational moment while taking this decision. It was incredible. I was like, okay, any tool can become a
Right.
tool for awakening. So I'm not sure why we're separating them, to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Also, business is human beings. Like, there is no business without humans. Like, that doesn't
Mhm.
exist. Somebody needs to use, like, we haven't got the level that AI creates things for AI and we have nothing to do, neither buy or sell them. Like, we're not there. So still business, even if a machine is creating them, that's the era we're moving, somebody is using them. Otherwise, there's no
Yeah.
point, there's no business. So that inherently has a reason to exist. So the business itself has a soul. As an entity, it has a soul. It has a reason it started. It has a reason the founder decided to dedicate their life into bringing that into the world. And different businesses have different reasons. They have different
Mm.
character. They actually have different colors. We call them branding.
Yeah.
There's many things
Exactly.
that if it was a person, you could really see how this business looks like if you just
Yeah.
translate how the branding, the voice, and the products look like and what do they do. It would be the character of the human being, of the person.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same.
Yeah. So happen, or it could be happening that the soul world now is transforming into the branding world, and we are saying the brand have a story behind, have the colors, have the logos, have all the things that identify that. But what you said is true. I mean, it's like this soul that is identifying who we are and how we do things in life, and this is related with what you are doing. And I would like you to share with us about the experiences, about the club, and about all the things that you are managing right now, because it was actually part of the things that really catch my attention.
Mm. Thank you for that prompt. So yeah, I see all of my businesses like my children, like literally. I in the latest one, I even know the exact moment of conception, like because it was so
Really?
clear. It was so clear how it happened. It happened in a particular moment next to the ancient temples in Sicily. I knew that I was seated with a new venture. I had no idea what it was, and I was bringing it to life for 9 months. It's like the same as a baby would be. So it really literally feels like that. And all of them do have their characters. So I usually know very early, like 18 informs me of what is supposed to happen with it. So the private club, which is the Universe of Aelia Kos club, has always had the rose, for example, as a symbol. I only later on realized how many mystical messages the rose brings and how much has been used over the ages as a symbol of very different qualities. One of these is the softer, more feminine quality, which is one of the most fundamental principles that we apply in the experiences. But also, it has the mystical character of conversations that happen sub rosa, so conversations that happen behind closed doors. So many times, the brand will give you it's three-dimensional if you start looking into it. It's not just what you see in a logo or in the colors or
Yeah.
anything. And that permeates in the entire initiative. So I cannot be receiving these qualities from the private club and then just go and do a very masculine, like old school private club. It will just not make sense.
Okay. Okay. And how that works specifically? I mean, what are the benefits? What are the people that decide to go there? Because I think that you feel a call, is something that said, based on all these signals that you are awakening you, it is a moment that you said, so now I wanted to go for something else. So how that works?
So it really came from one of your first questions. It was the moment I stopped finding it normal to have a world that you have to separate yourself between business and spirituality. That I will have
Yeah.
to go to my business circles and perform as if I don't have any spiritual life, and then go to my retreats and spiritual circles and perform as if I don't have a business, because there is the opposite taboo as well. I don't know if you have ever experienced that. That was like mind
Yes.
blowing for me
Yes,
when I
yes, yes.
experienced that, this
Uh,
type of
yeah.
segmentation. So I was like, why we don't have a space that you can just be the way you are? Like, you don't need to be more or less, because in our life, we will have times where we are more towards the business, the same person, the lives that we are more towards the spirituality, just because we keep recalibrating between the two. It's a dance, it's not absolute. So I decided to create the space. And then I was looking at the business models, the private clubs and their business models, the way they exist. And I was shocked to see that we had nothing that was catering for people who are searching deeper questions. The maximum you could get was a wellness massage. There was nothing about self-development. There was nothing about spirituality.
Mm.
And this could serve very well the previous generation, but from my generation down, it doesn't anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was really shocked actually to find out that. I was sure that there will be somewhere. Right?
Mm.
It felt like completely out of this world that this didn't exist. So I decided to incorporate everything I knew about spirituality and all the work I have done in that aspect into the more down to earth traditional business club, which is mainly there to connect you with the right people to grow your business. It's like very specific. But under this question, there's a lot that we can explore. So, what is the right person? How do we identify what's the right
Mm.
connection for somebody to do business?
Mm.
It's a huge question.
Oh,
But it does
yes.
come down to specific characteristics about values, vision, timing, and being available to connect and build the trust. So it does go down to these four. And each one of them, of course, is an entire chapter, so I will not go there. But we have taken all the essence of what needs to happen and what we have been trying to do in the more traditional business spaces and have brought it back into its essence.
Mm.
And it's very interesting and kind of hilarious to observe how difficult it is for people to perceive with their mind when I'm explaining that, and how effortless it is when they're experiencing it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Yeah. Learning by doing is basically what happened. But actually how you break the barrier of this process of them to understand before doing it, because this is the moment in which you convince people or people feel the call of, I'm going to do this. But understanding that, I think it will be one of the biggest barriers that are happening right now based on what the people not understand. What are the benefits that they are going to get out of that?
On one hand, it is because it's completely outside of what they know. On the other hand, there's particular examples that are very clear, and I think everybody gets them when I bring them these examples. There's also an entire group that doesn't need so much information anymore. They're really able to sense if that's the right space for them, and they trust
Yeah.
themselves enough to not feel that even if it's not in the end, I'm not going to have failed, right?
Yeah.
Usually
Yeah.
this type of person, which is like, I just know I'm supposed to be there. I don't even need too much
Questioning.
information. Let's just
Yeah.
discuss after. It's usually the ones who get the better results as well.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting because I think you end up as well attracting the right people. Instead of going and trying to catch them, you end up attracting them. And this is as well part of having a very good communication, because at the end you don't need to communicate that much, but people are understanding what you wanted to give as a value. And I think this is already a successful business case in the sense that, or management of a brand, because this is where many people are getting stuck in how to explain something that is not common, that is different. And with this strong benefit, I think is something very nice. And I have to say congratulations, because I really like your brand, your project, your business. And I wishing you all the best in the continued development of all these events. I don't know if you wanted to add something else based on, or starting to wrap up, because for me it's a very deep conversation that we can spend hours and hours talking about the business on the soul and how these things come together. But I know people can contacting you as well and get it from you more information about that. So where they can contacting you?
Absolutely. Yeah, this is an infinite subject. We can go at any time.
Yeah, exactly.
But it was a pleasure to describe some of the basic principles until now. So the best way to contact me is actually on LinkedIn. I'm really often on LinkedIn. You can find me as Aelia Kos, or through my website, which is aeliakosaltogether.com.
Well, Alia, thank you very much for being here, for being part of the Brilliantly Branded podcast, and hope to one day being part of the retreats, because I think it's something very special and is something that will be very, very life-changing in the way that you end up connecting with the right people in the right place.
Thank you so much, Maria. It will be a pleasure to have you, and thank you for having me on your podcast.
I'm grateful by having you as a listener on this episode. I am in the mission of empowering thousands of women around the globe, and I need your support for that. Help me to spread the voice by sharing this episode and subscribe to our social media channels. And remember, if you want to listen to exceptional stories and have someone that inspires you, please get in touch with me, because I will love to have them as a guest to learn from their experience and share their story with you next time. So until the next episode, ciao ciao.